Awesome. Pleasure to welcome to the podcast. We got another high school goalie, Lindsay Stubenvoll,
Hey,
Fayetteville, North Carolina. Lindsay, welcome to the show.
thank you. It's good to be here.
Yeah, I love it. Lindsay, I would love to hear the story of the first time you jumped into goal. Do you remember that?
Yes, I do. The first time I jumped in net was in my backyard, actually. My brother and my dad wanted to shoot around, and I was a hockey goalie at the time, and they were like, put on your hockey mask. My brother's also a goalie, so he's like, put on my pads, you'll be fine. Take my stick. Let's go shoot around with a real lacrosse ball. First time, never done it before, and just full force, full throttle. They were just shooting around, like my dad, my brother going at each other, and just fell in love with it from there. So,
What do you think it was about the position of lacrosse goalie that you fell in love with?
I think I've always been drawn to the position of goalie. I don't know why, but like I've always been drawn to like kind of that leadership in a way.
Yeah.
Um, Drawing all the way back to when I was in elementary school, I was a catcher in softball when I played, and just that leadership and feeling the like control of being able to help everyone all at once and being that part of the game that can kind of change things. And I guess I'm drawn to the adrenaline of it too. So,
Yeah. There's a lot of adrenaline, and there's certainly like as a goalie, I think you're right in that you have a lot more control in many ways. You know, you can influence the game. A great goalie can really influence the game, whereas like a great attackman, like we can just double team
yeah,
them, and like they can't,
yeah.
they can't influence the game as much.
Mhm.
That's cool. So you're drawn to that, and
Yeah.
then yeah, so you got all the in every single sport, you're the girl where the shots or the balls are coming at or
Oh
flying at
yeah.
you. Yeah, you're
Oh
you're
yeah.
used to that, huh?
Yeah.
Um, what about so you started as like an ice hockey goalie, and when you play ice hockey goalie, like you put on pads like from head to toe.
Yeah.
And
Hmm.
then when you go to play lacrosse goalie, like there's significantly less padding.
Yeah.
So when you jumped
There's
in there,
way less.
were you like, where's all my pads?
Honestly, no. I was kind of from the get-go, I was very much the kind of person who was like, "Oh, I'll let it hit me. I'll be fine." Very much like after my freshman year, I wore football pads my freshman year, the same as
Hmm.
my brother, and after that, I was like, "I don't need this. I'll be fine." I'm very much the kind of person who's like, "Oh, it doesn't hurt that bad.
Yeah.
Like, things for 2 seconds. I'll be fine."
Yeah, what do you tell a young goalie going through that? Because a lot of goalies,
Mm,
when they're first starting, what happens? They have that fear of the ball, right? Instead of,
mm,
attacking it, like the first move comes inwards like this, because I'm
yeah,
really afraid of it. So
yeah.
what advice would you share with them?
I would tell them because I had the same problem. I would tell them one, it's okay to wear pads. It's not something to be ashamed of because honestly, if that's something you're worried about, then there's no judgment from me, especially if I see someone wearing pads, I don't assume anything because there are some really good people that wear thigh pads, wear shin guards, and they're just protecting their own body. But something that helped me get over that fear was tennis balls. Tennis balls, tennis balls, tennis balls. Like just going wherever you have space, wherever you can find a goal, get someone to shoot on you and just have them shoot tennis balls at you for hours on end.
Love it. And know that Lindsay will not be judging you if you wear pads in the goal. That's awesome. All right. So then I guess you said your brother was a goalie. Was he the one that kind of taught you how to make saves as a lacrosse
Yeah.
goalie, or like did you do something else?
He's been my teacher since day one. He
Cool.
still continues to teach me everything. He's going through his senior year right now, and he's balancing between like he wants to go play attack because why not, and he's also being a goalie, and then on the other hand, he's constantly putting me in the backyard to go shoot on me for like an hour, and he comes to tournaments to come coach me, and he's always teaching me something new.
Nice. So he's 1 year older than you, or he's a
Oh
senior
yeah.
in college?
Yeah,
He's
he's
1 year
one
older.
year older.
Yeah, yeah. That's cool. So what were some of those early like lessons that he first taught you? Because I'm always curious about that. We got
Oh yeah.
youngsters listening to this. Like, what are the first things that I should as either a coach or a goalie? Like, what are the first things I should really focus on?
One of the first things he taught me was my stance. Always
Yeah, right.
going back, he constantly tweaks my stance still. Going back to, getting my knees bent, having my hips back, having my hands, out, having my thumb at my eye level, and making sure that I'm ready. I'm in an athletic stance and I'm not just standing there with my knees straight up.
Hmm. Yeah, stance is so important. I think I read that on your profile. It says you're 4'11". Is that, have you
Oh
grown?
yeah.
Are you grown? Or are you still 4'11"?
I'm still 4'11".
Beautiful, beautiful. What are the tips you can share with the small goalies?
So I would say get better at high shots. So something that I use to my advantage is my height. Everyone thinks that they can just shoot over my head and that it's going to be easy because I'm short and the goal is like 6 feet tall or something. So whenever they look at me, they go, "Oh, we're going to shoot above her head." So I always have my hands. Something that's really important is having my hands up because then my stick is already up there.
Mm,
So always having that strong punch upwards is something that really, really helps. And being able to, I know this isn't technically a great thing, but being able to really get on your toes if it goes way up high and it's really you don't think you can just get it flat footed, being able to really explode up is something that helps a lot.
yeah. Yeah, I was going to talk about that because a lot of times for a lot of goalies, like having the your top hand, like right your eye level, like eye thumb ball, is kind of what I was taught. But it turns out for a lot of goalies, it's too high. It
Mm-hmm.
really is because and it puts a lot of tension in your shoulder so that what
Yeah.
happens when the shot comes, I sort of relax, right? And I come
Yeah.
in and then go out. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
but if you're like I said, if you're a real short goalie, then
Yeah.
it makes sense to
Yeah.
have that top hand a little high.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned he was still tinkering your stance. What are some of
Yes.
the other adjustments that you've made?
I stand a lot wider than I used to. My stance is close to a men's stance, where as you see in a lot of women's goalies, their stance is quite narrow.
Yeah.
My stance is quite wide for how short I am. I make myself even shorter, going pretty wide, and my feet are always pointed outwards, very much so, towards wherever the shooter is, and he's always tweaking my hips and making sure my hips are back and my knees are bent enough that I can have explosive lateral movement. And in case of like I need to flop, I need to fall, that I can fall and in time and I can fall fast enough.
Yeah, interesting. I was looking for a pic of this wide base stance. Maybe you could send me
Mm.
one after the Lindsay Stubenvoll wide base stance, because a lot of times,
Yeah,
like you said, like the goalies that you really see do it have a lot of height because now that
yeah,
wide base brings me way down.
hmm
But you've had a lot of success with that wide base stance. You're
yes,
saying,
yes.
what do you feel like it gives you?
I feel like it gives me one, it's more comfortable in my opinion. I find it a lot more comfortable to have my legs wider and be in that wider stance. And I think it gives me better lateral movement and more explosive power in that sense of being able to move laterally and it's the same mechanics of like if you're doing a squat jump. The lower you get, the more explosive you're gonna be, the
Hmm.
higher you can jump. So the lower in my stance or the wider my stance is, the more explosive I can be.
Hmm. Yeah, love it. And it doesn't bring you down too much where you feel like you're giving up. You can still cover the top of the net.
Yeah.
All
Yeah, I
right.
don't think it be down too low.
There you go. And a 4'11" Lindsay Stubenvoll can
Yeah.
cover the top of the net in a wide base stance. You can do it too. You can do it. Thank you for serving as an inspiration
Yeah, of course.
to all the short goalies out there.
Oh yeah.
Um, that's cool. Wide base stance. Anything else that you've modified over the years?
Um, I definitely punch a lot more, like a lot more of like punching out towards the ball is
Hmm.
something. And
Yeah.
I don't stand and I have like I don't play like a high arc and I don't play a low arc. It's like in the middle, but it's just far enough that it's not a low arc.
Mm.
It's barely above it. And that has helped a lot because I noticed something I noticed in younger goalies is they step back when they make a save. So when they step back, they're like right on the goal line in so the ball often goes in. So something that I always preach is don't stand super high because I feel like that gives a lot to the shooter. And also don't stand too much in the middle because that also, in my opinion, it disadvantages you because of your stance, certain people's stance. But yeah, being just being a few like a foot or so above the goal line is
Hmm.
like the perfect spot because that gives you room to fall if you have to. But it also gives the ball, enough room that it won't go in if it takes an unlucky bounce.
Hmm. Yeah, I like it. I think that, well, there's a lot of different ways you can play the arc and everything, a lot of goalies have success with different things. So
Hmm.
I've seen goalies play very close to the goal line as the ball's sort of moving around. And then
Oh
like
yeah.
you got those select opportunities where I know
Hmm.
you're going to take a shot at me, Lindsay. I'm going to come out and
Yeah.
challenge you.
Yeah.
And even too, like on the 8 meter penalty shots in the women's game, sometimes the girls, doing the cradle, she's going to shoot, right? So
Yeah.
I'm gonna come out and cut
Yeah.
down that angle a little bit more. So that's kind of how I think about it. But like I said, there's
Mhm.
a lot of different ways to play that arc.
Yeah.
Very cool. What do you like the most? What's your favorite part about being the lacrosse goalie?
Ooh, my favorite part? Probably the adrenaline I get from it. It's
Mm.
always super fun and the freedom to kind of just be myself of I can be, silly, I can do silly things, I can be goofy. Something that I always do is I wear socks that have things on them. Like my socks, I wear like Spider-Man socks. They have like for Christmas tournaments, I wear Christmas socks and just being able to pick and choose random things that can throw people off and make them laugh and to use that to my advantage is really fun. But yeah, the adrenaline is definitely something that draws me to it and it's definitely my favorite part because in my opinion, I goalies have the power to change everything in the game. Like they one save can change the entire momentum of a team.
It can. Yeah, that's awesome. So you keep it light, you keep it fun.
Oh yeah.
You got a great collection of socks.
Yep, I got a great collection of
All
socks
right.
to
I like
wear.
it. I like it. Yeah, you posted in the Facebook group that I have there, like a mic'd up video, and
Oh
one
yeah.
that was cool. That was really cool.
Yeah.
I'd love to see way more of those. I always love
Oh yeah.
goalie mic'd up videos. But one of the first things I noticed is like, wow, she's having a lot of fun. She's like really keeping it light. And I think at one point you
Yeah.
were like singing, berries and cream, berries and
Oh
cream.
yeah. During my warm up, yeah.
And yeah, I was like, wow, that's cool. Like, it just keeping it light, keeping it fun, and that seems to
Mm.
be like your style in there, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Goalie, the position of goalie is a huge thing on the mental side. Like, it's very mentally tough. So doing those little things of singing, dancing, talking to myself, making random noises, making others laugh, but also making myself laugh while I do it. Um, kind of deviates from that like being super tough on yourself, being like working basically if you can make a save or you can have a goal scored on you and you can find the funny side of it, like
Mhm.
there was one time I got scored on, but I had like two back-to-back saves, one of them straight to my shin, and I went, ow, like I yelled it really loud. Everyone was super quiet, but after they scored, I was just laughing. The only thing that was on my mind was the fact that I said it so loudly that everyone heard it and everyone around me, I got to laugh. So if I can get everyone to laugh and make myself laugh, then the goal doesn't even matter.
Yeah,
Then I'm not gonna end up berating myself.
it's a great point. It's a great point. Yeah, sometimes you just got to laugh it off, right? Or,
Yeah.
just really not take it so seriously.
Hmm.
What do you think for you makes goalie a very mentally difficult position?
I think I'm my worst critic and I micromanage so much about my so much about my game. Like I'm very, very mentally tough. So if a goal goes in, if I can't find the things that are funny if the things that I put in the back of my head for later to think about are the little things, the very, very little things, what I could have done even better. And I put a lot of the blame on myself, which
Mm,
is very hard to manage of like, oh, we lost, but we could have won because I could have made this simple save that I missed. I could have communicated better. Constantly being like, I could have, all the I could have done words and all those statements are very, very mentally tough and very mentally draining.
yeah.
So and that comes with having a good support system is huge for those kinds of things. If you are your worst critic, having the strength of the people behind you, having them there to support you is huge, and that helps a lot.
Yeah. And so who is that for you? Is your brother, your family? Like what's your
Um,
support system and how specifically like do you engage them and lean on them?
hmm. My support system is definitely my parents and my brother, but also my club coach
Hmm.
has helped a lot. And I I always after games they can kind of tell when I'm in that when I'm in my head. And I lean on them a lot when it comes to tournaments, games, all that kind of stuff. And I do it by kind of talking it out. First, usually they come up to me first because I'm in the whole I don't want to talk to anybody, but they always pry and poke poke the bear until I start talking. And they ask me how's your head doing? What are you thinking about?
Mm.
And having the freedom to say whatever and kind of give my piece, but then them kind of telling them how they saw it and what they saw me do that and basically explaining the uncontrollables and being like you don't have control of how they shoot. You don't have control of how the defense moves to a certain point. You can only control so much and remembering the what you can control and what you can't helps a lot. So they always kind of remind me, hey, you did everything that you could have, and the rest of it was just up to the universe to decide, you can't control everything.
Hmm. Yeah, I was going to ask you how you got out of that self-critical
Mm.
phase because yeah, it is really tough and it's common
Yeah.
for young goalies to go through that play track in their head of I should have had that one, should have had that one. If only I could have had this one, and just being really difficult on themselves. But it sounds like for you,
Mhm.
it's that focus on control. You know, the control,
Yeah.
control the controllables, control
Yeah.
what you can, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And also just going and moving on into going to be fun, silly, doing the weird things that goalies do.
Berries and cream,
Yep. Berries
berries
and
and
cream.
cream. All right.
Berries and cream.
um, Very cool. What the other thing that was right below that post is a little you got some messages on your throat guard tape here.
Yes.
I'd love you to talk us through what it says and
So
what that means to you.
yes. So I just recently changed them actually. I
Okay.
just recently redid them. And on one side it says "Kachow," so like the Lightning McQueen saying,
Yeah.
like how he says "Kachow," and that was given to me by teammates and like friends and family. Last season I got the nickname of Lil Kachow because one, whenever I run out of the net, I'm a lot faster than a lot of people think, and I'm a lot faster than some of the taller people, so I can outrun a lot of people. And one of the seniors just started calling me Little Kachow because of how fast I was, and that just carried from like my my parents started saying it, my brother started saying it, and there's like a series of posts on my Instagram where in the comment section, my brother always posts like a little like gif of like a Cars movie. So that one started happening. So now it just says Kachow on one side with a little
Nice.
lightning bolt. So Lightning McQueen has kind of become a thing that I implement all the time. And then the other one is a Bible verse. I actually recently posted it. It's my dad's confirmation post. If I can find it. I believe it is Romans 1:16 is the current one that is on there. I haven't had a Bible verse on there in a minute. I can look up what it is. Romans 1:16. So it what the that Bible verse is, for I am not ashamed of the gospel of Christ, for it is the power of God unto salvation to everyone that believeth, to the Jew first, and also to the Greek. So it's kind of when I read that for the first time, it really inspired me of kind of it kind of my decision to deviate from Warner and uh, decommit from them and go somewhere else. It was a lot of I'm not ashamed of my religion. I'm not ashamed of the fact that I believe in God and that He gives me the strength to do what I need to. So that one that one is now on there. So those both kind of one keeps it really funny and then the other kind of represents of who I am as a person of I stick very close to my beliefs and values that I was raised with. So
Hmm. Love it. Yeah, I mean, I'm not a religious person myself, but I've
mhm.
interviewed uh, several goalies recently, including Erin O'Grady, who's very,
Yeah, so
yeah, she's very religious herself and sort of uses her faith to help her in the goal. And I was wondering if you do the same and how so.
So, when there's a particularly tough game or like I'm having a tough time, I typically go behind the net and I actually like sit on my knees and I pray and I kind of think to myself of like, how can I get help and how can I, I can thank God for, giving me the opportunity to even play the sport that I can't, the play lacrosse and be in the position that I am because a lot of people can't.
Hmm.
Uh, but also how can I, get strength from God to help me continue and not think of the negatives.
Yeah, so a little bit of gratitude
Hmm.
and then helping you with be strong.
Yes.
Yeah, like it. And you sort of alluded to a story that I would love to get into now. So you committed to play at Wagner. Yeah,
Uh,
Warner. Sorry.
so yeah, Warner was the first one. Now it's Columbia.
Right. But
Yes.
um, yeah, I mean, talk to me kind of about your decision to decommit and look for another school and why you decided on Columbia.
Okay. Yeah. So Warner it's a lovely place. It's a lovely like smaller school, and that's something that I look for is I'm not great in learning in huge groups of people. So having a smaller school was something that I always wanted to go to. So Warner is a very religious private college, like very religious. And that didn't bother me. It was the fact that they don't practice the same religion I do.
Mm,
So I'm a Lutheran myself, and that's the branch of Christianity that I follow, and they follow the Church of God. So they have a lot of their school, they have chapel hours that the students have to go to, and that would all be through the Church of God. And kind of they would bring in guest speakers to kind of do those chapels, do the devotions. And when I committed, I didn't think it would be a huge thing for me. I didn't think it would be a huge problem at the time. But as I walked away, as I thought about it over the few months that I was committed to them, something in my head was telling me to decommit. Something in my head was telling me to find somewhere that wouldn't technically be as religiously tied to something that you don't believe in and
hmm.
something that you don't strongly follow. So when the Columbia College Coach Mallory, she reached out to me and I was always told to keep my options open just in case
Right.
something did happen. And so when I got to talking to her, visited the college, lovely place. I like it's a great place there. The coaches are all super sweet. It's a tight-knit community. There's always something going on, and something that kind of gave me like a sense of relief was that it wasn't super religiously tied. There are religious things going on in campus, but they're all student led. They're all like FCA clubs, student led devotion. Like there was nothing that I had to do that wasn't my religion, that wasn't my belief. It's all up to me.
Yeah, I love it. How did she just the coach there at Columbia just randomly reached out to you to see if you were like how you're doing, or like how did that go down?
So she found my NCSA profile first when she was actually working at a different college. She reached out to me about that college first. Lake Erie. She used to work there. Reached out to me about Lake Erie. Um, then she found me at the President's Cup somehow. I don't know how, but she found me there, watched me play there, and loved how I play, my and how I direct my defense. And then she watched more of my film, and she didn't actually mind that I was committed. She still kind of was like, oh, maybe there's something there. Maybe something could happen. So,
Wanted
yeah.
you. She wanted you, Lindsay.
Yeah, yeah, she wanted me bad.
Um, that's cool. So, well, congratulations on finding a good fit, and yeah, wish you tons of success.
Thank you.
And it's D3. Am I right there?
NAIA is what it is.
NAIA, NAIA. Cool, cool. I was going to talk to you about the recruiting tools. So you mentioned the NCSA is one of
NCSA,
them.
yeah.
Yeah, and then I know you've got the what's the other one? The IW,
Yeah, I
uh,
have an IWLCA. I also have a
LCA.
field level. Yeah, I also have
You
a
you
field
got
level
so you
pro.
got three going
Yeah,
on.
I have
Talk.
three. Yeah.
What are the best ones? If I'm just getting involved in the recruiting game, should I get on all three, or does it
So,
matter?
I don't think you need all three. Personally, I used all three because I wanted to get as much exposure as possible. But I started with field level because it is such an easy thing to use. Field level is like the easiest setup for your profile. You know, it's got the same. They all have the same thing of like academics, your achievements, your
Right.
sport, all your preferences. Of hey, do you want to go to a Nike school? Do you want to go to an Adidas school? Whatever. Um, but they all pretty much work the same, but field level you can add as many videos as you want without having any like repercussions to having like needing to buy like a premium version of it. You can
Oh,
put
nice.
on there. Whereas like NCSA and IWLCA, they all have like premium versions of
Right.
their recruiting profiles, where in NCSA I can only put so many YouTube videos on there versus I can put an unlimited amount of like the NCSA like film, like having to pay for someone to film me and then being able to put that on there.
Yeah.
And uh yeah, IWLCA you can only see who particularly views you unless they private message you, like directly message you, uh, if you pay money to.
Oh, wow. Okay. Field level it is.
Yeah, field level is very easy, and it's something that coaches recommend all the time. It's used for football as well, but I find a lot of success in it in field level.
Cool. You mentioned that coach really liked the way you what was the term? Directed your defense. What
Yes.
and is that a strong point of your game? And how do you how would what tips would you share to young goalies who are struggling in that area?
So I direct my defense like I'm loud. One is being loud enough for everyone to hear you.
Yeah.
If they can hear you across the field, even better. Then you're being loud enough. And not being angry at them in a sense. So if you can, like, it's all about the tone of your voice.
Hmm.
Um, Being able to stay calm even when things aren't going your way. Being able to stay calm and still have that assertive tone and not not blow up in your defense after a goal is scored and, end up yelling at them of, why didn't you stop that? Why didn't you do this? This is your job. Um, Kind of taking accountability of you're all working together. You're all one cohesive, like, it's kind of like a machine. You're all different parts of one machine. So if one part of the machine doesn't work, then the whole entire thing is just going to fall apart. So if you can direct your defense and kind of teach them as you go, something I do if a goal is scored or after we end transition is I go and talk to my defense. Like I go in a little huddle or I'm like, hey, on, this slide, you weren't there. How, can you get there faster? Was that your slide? But also listening to your defense, seeing what they have to say, seeing how they see things, because you all see things differently. So
Right.
if there was a slide they didn't go to, they have a reason. They either didn't know it was their slide, or they didn't know it was their slide. They didn't think that they could get there in time. They thought someone else could,
Hmm.
or uh, or there was just something else that needed their attention. So there was a cutter that they were following that they couldn't get to that slide.
Yeah. Have you ever had the scenario where, you're trying to communicate to a defender and like they're just not listening to you? Seems to be kind of common in youth lacrosse, and I'm curious
Hmm.
to get your take on how to help
Um,
those goalies.
I I probably have. I probably have had a defender that just hasn't really caught on to what I was trying to tell them.
Hmm.
Um, and I mean, it gets frustrating. It does, kind of being like a broken record, saying the same thing over and over again to someone.
Right.
Uh, but it's all about patience. They see the game differently than you do,
Yep.
and kind of being able to communicate that, and communicate it over and over and over again. And at a point, you kind of just have to listen, um, see what they are seeing, and like how they see something, um, and work it out between the two of you calmly and have the patience to teach them. So
Beauty. What are you doing right now in your goalie game to train, Lindsay? What's kind of some of your training staples?
watching film. I always go back to watching the save edits of a college game. I always done that since my first year. Whenever I'm bored and whenever I'm not doing anything and I'm bored in school, I always, pull up YouTube, watch save edits, and I take notes. I take a lot of notes on stuff. Like I find pictures of myself as well, and I nitpick things about my stance, and I remember what happened in those moments, like where when that picture was taken. And I kind of think of like what was going on and what did I do right, but also what did I do wrong. So I take
Hmm.
notes off of like pictures. I take notes off of uh videos, and I kind of remind myself that, and I kind of keep it in the back of my head, and I'm like, oh, maybe I can try this. Maybe this thing worked for a college goalie. Maybe it'll work for me. So let's try that the next time I'm at practice.
Oh, that's cool. So you're
Mhm.
very much a student of the game.
Yeah.
And I noticed that because every time I host one of those lacrosse goalie summit events, there's Lindsay
Yeah.
nearly every single session. I don't know if we
Yes.
can we say every single session. I'm sure you probably missed a couple along the way, but
I've missed a couple, but I
but you're
try and make
there.
them.
You're
And
there
yeah,
learning, taking notes.
yes,
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean that's a real dedication to the sport,
yes.
and to getting better.
hmm I mean, I love learning. So I love learning about something that I'm so passionate about, and trying to get better is something like because the thing is, I'm never going to be perfect. My game is never going to be perfect, and there's
Right.
always going to be the little things. You can get close to it, but there will always be the little things that you can make even better. So it's like, oh, my clears are close to perfect, but what can I make? What can I do to make it even better?
Hmm.
My lateral stepping is close to perfect, but what can I do to make it that much closer?
Yeah, it's a cool way to look at it because
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, you're like you said, you're never going to be perfect as a lacrosse goalie. You got to be okay with that. But at the same
Yeah.
time, like you can certainly strive to be perfect, right?
Hmm.
And but it's just yeah, it's this weird balance of like knowing it's not going to happen, but yeah, I think I can,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
being okay when it doesn't happen, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So when you do watch the save edits, like who are your favorite goalies to watch?
Ooh, probably Shay and Delaney Schweitzer have been like the two that I constantly bounce between. I always rewatch the save edits of them.
Yeah. I bet you liked the semifinal last year.
Oh yeah.
That one was incredible. There, Shay and Delaney were going back and forth.
Oh yeah.
At one point, the announcer's like, "I'm running out of superlatives to use to describe these goalies."
Yeah.
So that was a good one. Yeah, and they both got that wide base stance, right? Just
Hmm.
like you.
Yep.
All right. Um, Anything else you've taken from their game that in particular, or you just like watching
Um,
them?
I think a lot of it is their stance and how they move as a women's lacrosse goalie. Because
Yeah.
I find that I can only learn so much from a men's lacrosse goalie.
Right.
So going back to them and seeing how they use the tools that they have in the women's lacrosse game, how they use a wide base stance, how they run their clears, how how they make their saves, the little details of, what can I take from this and what can I use it for myself.
Yeah. One thing that's so yeah, they both got that wide base stance. One thing that's so interesting about Shay is like I would call it like just how like relaxed her hands are. Like a lot of goalies are
Oh
like,
yeah.
they're kind of like right here and she's like it's just so relaxed, right? And I think that's really cool.
Hmm.
It's one of the things that I noticed and I've talked to
Hmm.
her. I sponsor her now, and so we've been doing a lot of training together, and I've asked her about that, and we've talked quite a bit about it. So she's awesome,
Yeah.
great goalie.
Yeah.
And college season's starting up today. In fact, right now, men's games
Oh
are
yeah.
being played. I don't know if there's women's games today. I haven't checked. Do you know?
I don't know. I haven't checked
Okay.
either.
All
I
right,
don't
we'll
know. I
we'll
haven't
check that.
checked.
I
I
know
should have.
Boston College starts next Saturday, so it's an exciting time for lacrosse. What about you guys in your season? Are you does it get started pretty soon, your high school season?
Yeah, soon. So we have tryouts February 12th through 14th, and then the very next day, so the 15th, we have a like play day jamboree type thing going on. So we're
Nice.
jumping right into it, and then the very next Monday, like we officially start games.
The next Monday you start games, so you have
Yeah.
like a week of practice?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I
Okay,
mean,
do
we're gonna figure it all out during the jamboree, so
I hope
hopefully
so.
we're gonna hit the ground running on Monday.
Yeah. Figure it all out. That's gonna be one productive jamboree.
Oh yeah.
All right. Um, well, cool. Let's see. What about with all this experience that you have now,
Mm.
what goalie advice would you give the younger Lindsay?
Ooh, the younger me.
Mm-hmm.
I would say don't be so hard on myself.
Yep.
Definitely. My freshman year, I there were constant times where from away games I would like be crying on the bus because I didn't think I was good enough to like have the position that I did.
Mm.
And I would definitely tell myself to not think of it in that way and kind of be like, well, clearly because you're here, they have faith in you. They believe in you. So kind of just having that in the back of your head to believe in yourself as well. Um, Definitely to not be as hard on myself is definitely something.
It's good advice. Very good advice.
Yeah,
Yeah. Awesome. What about the stick setup? Do you know what stick you use?
I do. I use a STX Eclipse 3 and I use a Ghost Pocket with 20 diamond mesh.
Really?
My, yeah, my brother found it on eBay and I had no idea. Like I had never heard of it before, but now I've been using it for a while and I love it. It's great. And then I think my shaft is like some Maverick shaft that I have. It's
Yeah.
like a
What? what
100.
going back to that mesh real quick. So like
Mhm.
this is 12 diamond. Obviously 20 diamond has a lot more
Yes.
fabric, and like I feel like you
Yeah.
get a little you get a better feel on the ball.
Mm.
Is that kind of what you like about it, or what is something else?
Something that I like is it breaks in super fast. It breaks
Hmm.
in very, very easily.
Okay.
So um like I got it and it broke in super easily, like within a week, maybe even less. And now that it's super broken in, it like bagged out really well. So now I have a like deep bag for, the ball's not gonna fall out, it's not gonna rebound.
Yeah.
Yeah, but also I have like you said, the ball, like I have a good handle on the ball now. I can always feel it. I know it's there.
Hmm. That's cool. And do you string your sticks? Your brother does, or someone else?
We send our sticks to Mr. Wonderful.
Oh, you get sticks strung by Mr. Wonderful, huh?
Yeah,
All
yeah.
right. Smart choice.
Yes, now it's become a superstition of mine. I don't like when anyone else strings my stick. I will only send it to him.
That's good loyalty. Good
Yeah.
loyalty. I have some strung by other stick stringers. I have to admit.
Mhm. Yeah.
He's my favorite. He's strung up the majority of my heads. But this one right here is done by
Mhm.
the Sidewall Jedi,
Yeah.
who is amazing. And
Yeah.
then of course I have this one is more of a collector's item, the traditional.
Mhm.
That's done by the
Oh
Lock
yeah.
Knots Monster.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
but Mr. Wonderful's always got a special place in my heart.
Yeah.
How many balls deep is your pocket now? Do you know? Is it like three, or
Uh, I
how
don't
deep are
know
we
at this
talking about?
point. It's like maybe 2.5 now.
Ah,
It's
okay.
pretty deep now.
Yeah, yeah. And then you mentioned the ghost pocket, which is what this is
Yeah.
right here. No shooting strings. Why do you
Mhm.
prefer that setup?
So my stick has always been super whippy. I don't know what I do, but when I throw, it's always super whippy. And I have a like really hard snap to the ball. So in my opinion, I think the ghost pocket helps it loft more instead of just
Hmm.
having the when straight snap to it that
Right.
I always get. Of
Right. That makes sense. Awesome. Well, Lindsay, thank you for coming on the show, sharing your
course.
story. Did we hit everything, or there's other topics or other things you're like,
Uh,
man, I can't believe he didn't ask me about that.
I think we got it. The only thing other that I like implement to my game is, the silly little things of, my socks, the tape. I have stickers on my neck guard actually. I put a bunch of random stickers on my neck guard.
What do you got on
Like
there?
one of them I know is my dad got the like Funko Pop version of the Geico lizard on there. He like got stickers of that, so now my brother and I always have that on our neck guards. I have a cow on. I have a pink cow drinking strawberry milk on my neck guard too.
Oh,
Uh,
yeah, I see that. I see that right here.
yeah, I
All
have
right.
so many random stickers on there, and they all have meaning behind them.
What's the pink cow drinking the strawberry milk meaning?
So my friend and I got stuffed animals that were matching and they came with those stickers. So I have a strawberry like cow stuffed animal. So I got that sticker with it and I put it on my neck guard so that, I have the support of my friends, I have the support of my brother, I have the support of, my siblings, all of them, and, my parents.
Cool. Very cool. Awesome. Well, like I said, Lindsay, thank you for coming on the show. And if people want to learn a little bit more about you, should they check out your Instagram? Should we send them there?
Oh yeah, yeah. I
Okay.
I always check I always check my DMs. So
All right.
if there was someone that wanted to learn a little bit more about, how I deal with things on the mental side, they can always reach out to me there.
Okay, cool. Linz with a Z, Linz Stew underscore 26.
Yes.
Yep. Awesome. Well, I'll see you in March at the next Lacrosse Goalie Summit. How's that sound?
Yes. That sounds good.
All right. Good luck, Lindsay. Take care.
Thank you. You too.